So now that we've built this beautiful machine inside of the Height X50 pink case, Hello Kitty themed, and we turn it on for the first time, we'll find there is no OS, there is no nothing. It's a clean machine. And you're gonna run into the same issue. I'm gonna show you how to flash the BIOS, configure the BIOS, install Windows, install all the drivers, and get everything up and running. But if you remember, during the original build, we didn't have this liquid cooling unit. We had a different type. We ran into a few issues, and you'll see that here. Let's get started. So a few things before we actually get to that computer, because right now, if we connected all the cables and powered it on, we're not going to do anything because Windows doesn't come on the drives already. We need to install that. So we need to take care of a few things. We're going to need 2 thumb drives. One for Windows 11, we're going to use the Media Creation Toolkit to get Windows 11 on here. And the second thumb drive is the one for the drivers, the BIOS, and all that good stuff. Now, MSI does something incredibly cool. If you don't have another machine that has internet access or anything along those lines, because some of us don't, they bring all of the drivers and everything right on here. Now, mind you, they're going to be incredibly old, but at least they'll help you get started. But what we're going to do now is we're going to update everything, and then we're going to go to the brand new machine. So I've already created the Windows 11 installation media. I'll link up a video on how to do that. But now I'm going to show you exactly what to do to get all of this updated. So of course, first off, we're going to go ahead and plug it into a USB port. When it first plugged it in, I kind of giggled because I thought, wow, it's blank. They didn't put anything in there. But actually, it's kind of a 2-part. It's formatted with 2 partitions. So if we went to this PC, we'll see MSI support and MSI disk. So we need to be on MSI support. This is going to bring up a GUI, this guy over here, that has everything, and you can use that on your install. But we're going to update everything. These are all incredibly old. I'm going to put this aside here so that we could see just how old these are. So what you could do is we're going to use MSI disk to store everything. This is the website, and I'll have links for everything down in the description below, but this is the website where you can download your Windows 11 installation media. This site is our motherboard support site. This is where we'll find all of our drivers and BIOSes. So first off, we'll download the latest and greatest BIOS. We'll click download here. Cool, it's downloaded. Now we'll go over to drivers. We'll download chipset, but let me bring this up. 6.10.22.27. This is 7.06, so this is a lot newer. So we're gonna go ahead and download that. If we're not using a graphics card, we'll download the onboard VGA drivers. Then coming over to onboard audio, we're going to click to download that. Then LAN drivers. This is for Bluetooth. This is for Wi-Fi, and this is for the Ethernet port. And then onboard, this is RAID. Even though we may not be using RAID, we might be configured in the sense that it will require those drivers. So we'll click download here. Then we'll go to utility and others. And by the way, we are under Windows 11. That's what we'll be installing, but you can select 10 if you'd like to. Do Windows 11. We'll download the MSI Center, and let's see anything else here. RAID Expert, CPU-Z. It's good to have CPU-Z. And IDA64, great piece of software for testing your OS to make sure everything's good. So now we'll go to AMD.com. We'll go to Resources and Support. Then we'll go to Drivers. We'll select chipset, scroll down a tiny bit, then we'll select AM5 because we have an AM5 processor, and then we'll select X870E because that's the chipset of the board we have. It says it right up here too. And then we'll click submit. We'll go here to Windows 11 and 7.06.02.123. Come back over here, and we're just going to verify that these are the latest, 242226. AMD has the older drivers on their website. They're the ones that make the drivers because they make the chipset. But I've been seeing that MSI has been having the newer drivers, which hasn't happened before. It's good to check both. So make sure to download the chipset drivers from MSI's site, but always verify on both just in case. Because we can see here that MSI has for October 1st, 2025, and over here, AMD has June 13th, 2025. We don't need the RAID drivers because we can use the older ones. We have an AMD graphics card, so we'll come back under Resources and Support, Drivers. We'll go to graphics, we'll go to Radeon RX, and we have a 9060. So we'll click here, and it is an XT. We'll select here and then click submit. And we're using Windows 11, and we'll download the latest Waco driver. I don't like to get the auto detect. Now for our liquid cooling unit, this one is a little bit weird because Thermalright doesn't have the greatest site. They don't have anything here under download. These are just the manuals and everything. We have to scroll up, then click support, go to downloads, and then we have the Hypervision, which, yeah, so we'll download the English version here, and that's downloading. Then we're also using Kingston Fury RAM, so we'll download the Control RGB software. Download it here and download it. Perfect. So now we'll come over here and we'll click on this little folder, and this is everything that we've just downloaded. So I'm going to select it all. Oh, and actually one thing, go to 7-zip. 7-zip is a lot better because it allows you to uncompress things into their own directories rather than having to create directories, drag and drop things, because you don't install stuff from within a zip file. That's a container. It's not going to work that way. We need to uncompress everything, and we can do that on the new computer, except for the RAID drivers. And I'll show you. We'll go ahead, just download this right over here, and we're downloading the 64-bit version for Windows. For the RAID drivers, we're going to double click on here. Then we're going to right click on this folder, copy, then go back and then paste it. So now that creates a folder on the root of this download directory for the RAID drivers. Going in there under RC RAID, and here are your RAID drivers. If we need them, they're here. So what I'm going to do now, first off, let's go ahead and verify that that MSI disk is FAT32 because it needs to be. So right click here, properties. Perfect. They thought of everything. It is a FAT32 drive. So now what we're going to do is come back over here. I'm going to copy everything and paste it into the MSI disk. For a BIOS update, the only way the BIOS will see a file is on a FAT32 formatted thumb drive. So MSI took care of that for us. The RAID driver, I don't remember totally if it required FAT32, but I typically always put it on a FAT32 thumb drive anyway, so it helps that it's already there. And now we also need to extract the BIOS file because inside of a zip file, it's no good for the BIOS. So over here, already on the thumb drive, let's see, okay, so here's the file, 7E59, double click in there, double click on this folder, and then we bring out this file, 1A61, right click, copy, and we'll go back to MSI disk, and we'll paste it at the root of MSI disk, paste. Now finally, we're ready to get started on the machine. Let's go. Now that we have the machine here and we're ready to install everything, let's go ahead and connect all the cables. So we'll start just by USB. There's no real order on this, so just plug them all in and just realize that we're using the graphics card for our monitor. We're not using the motherboard. Since we already have a graphics card, we'll go ahead and take advantage of it. If not, we wasted a lot of money. All right, so let's go ahead and plug it all in here. And that was USB and HDMI, so this is Ethernet so that we have internet. If not, you would be able to connect through Wi-Fi, of course, if you have Wi-Fi at home. Newer cases have the power supply along the bottom here, but on this case, it's right up here. Cable's a little short, so the only way I'll be able to do it is if I already turn it around, but I just wanted you to know that it'll plug right up here. So let me go ahead and turn it around, 1 sec. So this will be the first time we turn on the computer, so let's see if she works. I'm gonna go ahead and plug in the MSI thumb drive just to have it in there, and we'll plug this Windows 11 one in a bit. So let's go ahead, power button. All right, so now the second we see the keyboard light up, that lets us know that now we're getting USB, and we start tapping the delete key to enter the BIOS. Now your first boot, maybe your next few boots after that, might take a little longer because memory retraining is occurring, and we'll fix that in the BIOS. All right, so that's USB kicking in. We are in the BIOS. The first boot is the most grueling every time, but now we're in. So let's go ahead, flash the BIOS real quick. In the BIOS, we'll click up here, the thumb drive, and flash. System will auto reboot. Yes. Here we can see that BIOS file that we extract, E7E59AMSI. The current version is version 1.A40. The one on the thumb drive that I just downloaded is version 1.A610. It is a little bit newer, not incredibly newer, but it is definitely newer. So we'll double click on that. And then, yes, I want to flash that. This might take a minute or two. All right, so that's completely normal. Don't freak out. BIOSes do that. So just turned off. Now it's turning back on, and it's going to take us to the prompt to go into the BIOS. All right, perfect. We'll just go PBO enabled. So the very first thing we should do after we enter the BIOS is let's go to advanced real quick. And now we'll go to save and exit. And now we'll select restore default and load optimized defaults and click OK. Now that we've done that, let's press escape and we'll go into system status. Let's go ahead and change the date. That is incorrect. It is December 6, 2025, and we'll set that. Then we'll also set it is 3, so 15, 19, set that. Now we have the current time, and let's go advanced. PCIe subsystem settings. Make sure that resize bar is enabled. The first one, that is a Gen 5, and the second one is also a Gen 5. E1 Gen switch, that is a Gen 5, that's for the graphics card. For maximum performance and to make sure everything works great, we'll go ahead and set this to disabled. And I'm just going over all of the settings real quick just to make sure I don't miss anything. Since we have a graphics card, we're not relying on graphics from the motherboard, so we're going to ignore that. LAN controller should be enabled. Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, we'll leave that auto. Come out of there. Integrated graphics configuration. We're not using integrated, so leave that as PEG. Integrated graphics, we'll set that to disabled. Come out of there. USB configuration. Power management setup. Under BIOS, UEFI, CSM, make sure you're under UEFI. All of the newer graphics card require UEFI. And AMD overclocking, accept. Even though we're not overclocking, I like to set Precision Boost Overdrive to enabled. We're not using liquid nitrogen, so let's disable that. Coming out of there, now overclocking. We're not utilizing an X3D processor, so it's okay to leave that disabled. DRAM settings. Not all RAM, even though it is AMD, utilizes Expo. Some utilize XMP, but this particular RAM actually does utilize Expo. So we'll select Profile 1. You can also select Profile 2, and then that'll tell you the speeds. We can see down here, Profile 1. Profile 2, actually Profile 1 is faster. So we have 6,000 megatransfers on Profile 1 and 5,600 on Profile 2. Also, we see the CAS, RAS, TRAS, all the latencies here, as well as the voltage. So I'm going to leave it at 6,000, and we can leave all of that to auto. For memory context restore, we want to set that to enable. That way it doesn't retrain the memory every single time, whereas on disabled, it'll do it every single time. RAM timing. Again, setting the Expo profile automatically sets this for us. We don't need to touch it. And I'm just going over everything just to make sure that we're not missing anything. Then here we can see that the boot order is, it's going to boot off of the UEFI hard disk. So now I'm going to go ahead and pop in the Windows 11 install media that we prepared earlier. I'm going to remove the MSI thumb drive for now. And it may not detect it in the BIOS. That's okay. But then here it tells us boot option 2 is CD, DVD, USB, and all that good stuff there. And then we can manually select it down here. I'm going to hit F10 to save and exit, save configuration and exit. So these are all the changes we made, and then click yes. And don't worry, it will shut down, but it'll turn right back on in a second. So what we did here is we did a basic BIOS setup. This should work for just about every configuration as long as we have an AMD processor, which for this motherboard you have to, and this particular AMD graphics card as well. Even if you had SATA SSDs or M.2 SSDs, this will work just the same. And again, you need to make sure that if you have XMP memory, you select XMP. And if you have Expo, select Expo. Not only for your RAM, but for your CPU as well. And now we should get booted to the Windows 11 media. Select language setup, make sure to select whatever language and currency you utilize. So we'll click next here. Keyboard method, next. I would like to install Windows 11, and I agree with everything will be deleted because there's nothing to delete. So click next. And we don't have a product key just yet, so we're going to select I don't have a product key. And when we do enter product key, it's going to be for Windows 11 Pro, and then I'll enter next here. Actually, I'm going to disconnect the Ethernet adapter for right now, and then I accept. It's not requiring any kind of RAID, so we're good here. And actually, I'm going to plug in this thumb drive. This 0 would be this drive right up here, the top one, and disk 1 would be the secondary M.2 SSD. So we're going to leave disk 0 selected and click next. And they're both unallocated because we've never used them. And all right, so we'll click install here. All right, so Country or region, I'm in the United States, so I'll click yes. Keyboard layout or input method, US. And no, I don't want to add a second keyboard layout, so we'll skip that. And Ethernet, we're not on a network. So what we're going to need to do here is hit Shift F10, click on this command prompt so that we can type in there. There's two different methods. We'll try the first one, OOBE / bypass and RO. It looks like that one worked. Microsoft likes to change things up sometimes, so at this point, it still works. All right, so don't worry. It's okay that we're back here. So click yes, yes here again, and skip the second keyboard layout. And now we have, I don't have internet. We didn't have that before. So we'll click that. And this is gonna be Kendall's build. So we'll type Kendall, no password. You could change these if you'd like. I'll go ahead and accept those. So now we're in Windows. I'm gonna go ahead and pop back the MSI thumb drive in the machine. We'll go into File Explorer and this PC. We can use the MB support CD again if that reminds me. So when this loads, that UAC thing bothers me a lot. So I click Start, I type UAC, and change user account control settings. I lower it because I don't want it telling me, are you sure you want to do everything? So click OK and yes, and now it'll never ask. So if you wanted to, if you didn't already download all of the updated drivers, you can just go through this. Since I have the updated ones, I'm going to skip this. We're going into my disk and I am going to select all. I'm going to right click, copy. Go into this PC. I'm going to open the C drive and I'm going to create a drivers directory. I'm going to go in there and right click and paste. So now everything that's on that thumb drive that we copied from the other computer is going to be on this computer. I'm going to install 7-zip real quick, and that's it, super quick. There is an order that I recommend installing these. So the first one, to every single one of these, I'm going to right click on it. I'm going to go to Show More Options, 7-zip, and extract to the name of the zip file. So now it's extracting everything from that zip file into a folder. Okay, so I'm going to do that to all of these. I'll be right back. And I'm also deleting them after I extracted them. Everything has been extracted. No more zip files. I deleted all of them. I'm going to install the chipset first. That is the foundation of all the drivers. And the way I like to install it is from the motherboard, everything going out. So after I do that, we'll go to Audio. AIDA64 and CPU-Z, they're not required for the install. They're nice to haves. So first off, we'll start with the chipset. And I would recommend leaving the Ethernet cable and Wi-Fi not connected while we're installing everything. We don't want Windows Update to do its thing. So we'll leave this all selected and then we'll click Install. After we've installed all that, we'll come over here and we'll click Close. So a lot of the software as you install it is going to require you to restart the computer. A lot of people like to postpone that till later and install a bunch of other stuff. You should, to make everything work properly, when it asks you to restart, close that program, manually restart like we're going to do now. After you restart, then install the next. In order to have a clean system that works well, try to always follow that method. So we'll come under here, right click on the start button, shut down or sign out, and restart. So we'll go back into File Explorer, this PC, C drive, and drivers. In the drivers, we'll install Realtek Audio. And again, we want to restart, but we don't want to let the software do it. So no, finish, right click, shut down or sign out, and restart. The reason I do that is many times as you click restart, the software is still doing things in the background. You want to make sure that you close out of the application so that everything's done and then you can properly restart. The usual path and PCIe. Go in and we'll run setup. And I did forget to show you, if I right click on the start button and go to device manager, if I had done this before, you would notice that there was a lot more bangs like this error. Because we've already installed the chipset, we're not going to have issues now. But when we're done, everything should be clear here and everything should be working. We won't see any more of these little yellow bangs. Finish here. This one didn't ask us to restart. Now Wi-Fi. MSI setup, and install, and finish. Close out of here, and Bluetooth, MSI setup, finish, close out of here. And this is for the liquid cooling unit. I'm going to skip this part because we ran into some serious issues here, but we'll come right back to it and I'll explain what happened. Actually, that's number 6. So going to 7 is the AMD Adrenaline software. Additional options, even though it's a clean install, factory reset optional, and I like to uncheck this portion and then I'll click accept and install. This will take a minute. Okay, and I'll uncheck these and I'll click close. I'll install the Fury control installer. Surprisingly, the software didn't ask me to restart. And get. I'm a little bit surprised it didn't ask me to sign in with my account, so I'll open it real quick just to make sure everything works. So everything's good here. We can close out of here and out of here. And now let's go to MSI Center and install. And while that's doing its thing, I'm going to right click on the start button, device manager, and everything. Yep, everything is good here. So now we know that all of the drivers and everything installed perfectly. So I'll close out of here and we'll finish up MSI Center. Finish. And now we'll run MSI Center. And just go all the way down. And so MSI Center is great to have because not only can we control all of the RGB and everything, but it helps us keep all the MSI software updated. Or at least that way we know there is newer versions and either we can download them on our own or use MSI Center to update them for us. And now start now. And you can select whatever you like on here. We'll go ahead and put a gamer and a creator. Next step, if you want to remove something or add something, I'm going to leave this as default and start installation. This might take a minute depending on your internet speed. Now that everything's done, click open on Mystic Lighting. And then here we can select them all and then we can change it. We can put breathing and apply. So now it'll be breathing red. Nice. So it's not only the motherboard, it's the RAM and the liquid cooling unit. I'd prefer actually breathing blue. We can come here under support and live update. And then here, if we wanted to, we can see if there was any updates. We'll click scan. We have an installed IDA 64 and don't install Norton 360. Microsoft app, MSI recommends. We're good here. And there is hardware monitoring. So that's beautiful. Now, one thing I did forget is if we go to File Explorer, this PC, notice we don't have that other drive. So I'm going to right click on the start button, disk management, initialize disk. So we make sure disk 1 is selected and we want to choose GPT and click OK. So we'll find this unallocated disk, but now that disk is online. I'm going to right click on this portion and click new simple volume. Then next, you can put whatever size here, or you could split it up. I'm going to use the entire partition next, and I'll fix this in a second. Let me set it to Z for right now, and I'll call this storage and make sure that perform a quick format is selected and finish here. So now we have the C drive, the 2 thumb drives, and storage. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove that thumb drive. We have everything we need from it. So now we should have the C drive and the Z drive. So I'm going to come under here. I'm going to right click on storage, change drive letter and paths because nothing's installed on it. And now click change and I'm going to name it D. Yes. And now we have a C drive and a D drive. So normally I'd go into the portion where I show you how to use the Hypervision real quick, but unfortunately I'm going to have to get rid of it. It's making a loud whining sound and is not very customizable. So bringing you up closer, you may be able to hear the sound. I'll let you listen for a sec. Maybe you can't hear it because it's normal, but now you don't hear it now. I'll plug it back in. You hear it, right? because thankfully we bought this stuff on Amazon, so we're able to return everything as long as we return it within a reasonable amount of time, of course. As you can imagine, it's relatively easy to just pull out. Thermalright did a good job there to make it easy to remove. But now we're going to use one that I've already used a few times before, and it works great. The Corsair iCUE Link Titan. So now we can get rid of these TRCC software. We'll go into the control panels and uninstall a program and get rid of that. All right, so now we're just going to go real quick to Corsair.com and we'll go to software, download iCUE. Thankfully, they make it really easy for you. Download Corsair with Neurals, and you can either register or skip this step. I've already registered. Install iCUE. All right, so we'll start iCUE real quick. Just gonna get all the RGB and everything to line up. Come under the gear and we'll go to software update. Actually, we see a lot of that here. So let's go ahead, update the firmware first. So we see current firmware and what's available. So nice, it's updating us. Let's go ahead, exit out of all the other software that controls something so we don't have issues, and then got it, approved. So now it's integrating stuff into iCUE. And let's go ahead and restart, 1 sec. Okay, and let's go back into dashboard, into the little gear up here, software updates. Let's just make sure, check for updates, everything's good, and plugins. Now we're using an MSI motherboard. Okay, let's restart iCUE real quick. Plugin updated, perfect. So now we'll go to Corsair Blue. Now you can see everything, even though that it is MSI, it's Kingston or Corsair with the software. As long as we're able to install the SDK, we're good. One cool thing that we can do here, I'll click on the iCUE Link Titan. I'll go to the screen setup. We can change the animation here. It was originally an MPEG. I changed it to a GIF. I think that looks pretty cool, and I'll leave it there. She could change it if she wants to. I'm sure she'll put Hello Kitty on there. I'm not able to. Licensing, of course. iCUE, I like it a lot. It's a lot better. We're also able to, since she's not going to be doing a whole lot of performance or a ton of gaming or anything, we can come under Home, and then we'll click on the little gear here. Let's go to Cooling. We can select what we want all the fans and the hub and the pump and everything to be. I'm gonna leave it as quiet, but if I wanted to, I could put it to Extreme. And mind you, it's not going to get a lot louder. Even on my workstation, everything is Corsair. It doesn't get louder, but I want it to be quiet for her. And even though the pump doesn't get loud, let me go ahead and put that to Extreme, just to get better cooling. So that's just a little bit of what can happen while you're flashing the BIOS, configuring the BIOS, installing the OS, and all of the drivers. You're able to find a lot of the issues that are going on with your machine that you just don't know about at that time. Here we found that the pump on the Thermalright was going bad, or potentially, maybe that's the way it's supposed to happen, but regardless, we were able to swap it out to the Corsair Titan, and everything sounds great, everything runs great, and we're able to swap the animation as well, and that's pretty awesome. Though the screen's a little bit smaller, no matter what, it works well. Now that's just one of the issues that can happen while you're installing and configuring things. Let me know some of them down below and I'll share some with you as well if you'd like. This is Iggy with ThisBytesForYou, showing you how to flash the BIOS, configure the BIOS, install Windows and all of the drivers, and get everything up and running inside of the X870E pink case. Iggy with ThisBytesForYou out. See you guys.